Good morning. My name is Susan Reardon. I'm the staff hearing officer, and I call the meeting of Wednesday, March 15th to order. Today we have 4 items on the agenda. However, we have a couple changes. Item 2C, which is 813 East Carrillo Street. It's an application by the Housing Authority. It's going to be continued, or it is continued until March 29th, the next meeting. After the public notice went out, it was discovered that additional modification was necessary, so we need to renotice the item. So it won't be heard today. The second change is item 2D, which is a request for a time extension for 509 West Olivo Street and 2121 Oak Park Lane. Those are generally heard on the consent calendar. They're usually minor projects, so I am moving that up to the consent calendar. Other than that, the next 2 projects remain the same, 1135 Harbor Hills Drive and 226 Oliver Road. So those are the changes. I've had no recent appeals, and I don't have any other announcements. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to address the staff hearing officer on items not on today's agenda? No, seeing no one. We'll go to the request for the time extension. I noticed there's some changes to conditions, so I'm sure staff wants to give just a brief presentation or explain the changes.
Yes, good morning, Ms. Reardon. This is the Westmont Employee Housing Project located at 505-509 West Los Olivos and 2121 Oak Park Lane. And it was a proposal for 13 condominiums at the site. It was approved by the Planning Commission back on June 4th, 2009. Since that time, the applicant has qualified with either state legislation or a standard time extension process to June 4th of 2017, and we're here for a 1-year time extension.
Mute.
And the project is actually in for a revision right now. It would still stay at 13 condominiums, but the proposal in the future is just to not have a condo conversion of the existing 4-plex into 3 condominium units. So that's what we're also reviewing in a parallel process, but the applicant would like to have the existing project current for at least 1 more year. There were just some changes to the conditions, really just some minor changes to our public right-of-way improvements, and also to recognize Tier 3 stormwater compliance.
Okay.
And also there were 2 bonus density units, and the maximum sale price was updated by our housing staff.
Okay. Great, thank you. You want to state your name for the record? Is there anything else you want to add, or that's fine?
Yeah, I don't think there's much else to add. I appreciate Jessica walking through this, and I think the staff report is pretty comprehensive in explaining where we are and the process we're going through. My name is Tony Tomasello. I'm with RRM Design Group. We're the applicant. And
okay.
Randy Jones from Westmont College.
Johns?
Jones.
Okay. Okay, and you've read the changes to the conditions and understand them?
Yes.
Okay. So I agree with staff's determination that your project still continues to be in conformance with the general plan and the zoning ordinance. I see you're only requesting a 1-year time extension, which is good because I've been hesitant about approving more than that, given we're under our new zoning ordinance process right now, and I'm not sure if the new process would affect this or not, so I couldn't make that finding if you asked for more than a 1-year time extension. But the fact I just give you a 1-year time extension doesn't mean you can't come back and ask for the additional amount that you're allowed. So I can make the findings and approve the 1-year time extension. The one thing I would want to make clear is that the recommendation points to the revised conditions of approval in Exhibit B, but it's actually Exhibit A. So I just want to make it clear that the conditions that is going along with my time extension is actually in Exhibit A. So given that I've approved your time extension, the action is not appealable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll go to the first item on the regular agenda, and that's 1135 Harbor Hills Drive, if the applicant would like to come up. Good morning.
You represent the applicant, Mr. Member. Would you like us here as well, or do you want us to?
You
wait
represent
for-
the applicant?
I'm sorry, the neighbor.
No, I'll call you up during public hearing. Anytime you're ready, Andrew.
All right. All right, good morning. My name is Andrew Perez, planning technician, and the project before you today is located at 1135 Harbor Hills Drive. Existing development on the site consists of a 1,990 square foot single-family dwelling, a 302 square foot garage, and they are connected by a breezeway here. The proposed project consists of a 490 square foot addition off of the rear of the existing dwelling, a 162 square foot expansion of the existing garage, a new entry pergola, a rear covered patio terrace, and some new landscaping. The existing property does have a couple of non-conforming aspects to it, in that the garage and the dwelling are legally non-conforming to the front setback, and a portion of the dwelling is legally non-conforming to the northern interior setback. The discretionary applications before you today are a front setback modification to allow the garage to expand in the front setback, and an interior setback modification to allow the roof height in the area that the dwelling encroaches into the setback to be raised, and change in the pitch as well. The Single Family Design Board reviewed this project in November of last year, and they found the requested mods to be aesthetically appropriate and conforming to the Single Family Design Board design guidelines. However, the board did suggest that the applicant reduce the size of the addition here, mainly the master bathroom, study on simplifying the roof forms, removing the palm tree as proposed through the patio terrace, as well as practicing good neighbor guidelines when considering design issues with the adjacent neighbors. So the front setback mod, the existing garage is only 302 square feet. It's not large enough to accommodate two vehicles, but the proposal proposes to expand the garage in a uniform addition across the front edge of the existing garage in order to provide two covering parking spaces and some storage at the rear for the property owner. In order to expand the garage, the existing breezeway would have to be demolished, and they're going to add the entry pergola as another element, but it would be out of the setback. So when you figure the demolition of the breezeway and the addition of the new floor area for the garage, it actually results in a 22.5 square foot reduction of roofed area in the front setback. Therefore, staff is supportive of the front setback mod because the project will result in a functional two-car garage for the property owner, as well as improving a non-conforming aspect of the property. For the interior setback modification, part of the proposal looks to provide an open floor plan for the property owner. So through this area. And in order to do this, the plate height of existing 8 feet would have to be raised to about 10 feet. And this will also allow for a better architectural treatment of the roof, according to the applicant. So the result of the raising the plate height would be a 13-inch increase in oops.
It's telling you your presentation's over.
Just about.
I'm kidding.
A 13-inch increase in the ridge line. It'll be raised from its existing height of 12 feet 6 inches, which you can see. So the existing's here, and it's 12.5 feet, and it'll be raised 13 inches to 13 feet 7 inches. And staff thinks this is appropriate because it's compatible with the neighborhood, and it's actually a lower ridge line than both of the adjacent neighbors. And so for this reason, staff is supportive of the interior setback modification because it is compatible with the neighborhood, and there are no new openings proposed in the interior setback, so it is not anticipated to adversely impact the privacy or enjoyment of the nearest property. And so in conclusion, staff recommends that the staff hearing officer approve the requested modifications subject to the findings found in the staff report.
Okay, great. And then one clarification. I don't know if it's the same in the notice, but on the staff report, it says the required discretion application, interior setback modification to allow alterations to the roof height and pitch in the foot required interior setback. That's the north. So we're talking about the north interior setback. Okay, so would you like to state your name for the record and provide additional comments?
My name's Tom Oxner, project architect. I really don't have much to say additionally except that the plans that you have here are the result of the comments that were made during the SFDB hearing. We're progressing with those comments and look forward to getting the project back on the SFDB soon.
Okay.
We've been working with the neighbors. The addition was story poled, even though it wasn't requested by SFDB, and we'll restake the addition once we receive our mod findings and continue to work with the neighbors to resolve their concerns.
Okay, I do have a question. So I didn't see the solar information on these plans. Did you bring something that shows the solar?
Yes, I did. I've got that right here. So what I understand, the plans really didn't have the complete survey, so I have the complete original survey that can
Okay.
justify the, basically this is the way the northerly property line works with the portion that encroaches within 6 feet of the, and there's the 12-foot up and the 30%. So
Okay. Yeah, I thought it complied, but I just wanted to
yeah,
verify
so
it and have this information to show that it is. So if we could keep this,
Yep.
that would be good.
that's yours.
Okay. Then the other question I had, Andrew touched on it. It was regarding the design review comments. I didn't view them, I usually don't, but their last comment says the board does not support the standing seam roof. So what, you said this reflects their changes?
Yes.
Can you just explain that?
Right, so originally we had a metal standing seam roof, and in the Hillside District, they're not crazy about that. So what
Okay.
we've done is we've changed it to a tiled roof,
Okay.
a flat tiled roof.
Okay.
Yeah, and I believe these drawings do reflect that. If these are the most current drawings, they should be illustrated that way as well. Yes, so, yeah, we've got
Okay, so maybe it was just your letter that still had it or something. I saw it, okay, so that's, all right.
right, yeah, so we've got a tiled roof on there. Not a two-piece tile, but a flat tile.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Yeah, I thought I read it somewhere, but that's good, okay. And I think those were my questions for this time. Okay, I'd like to open the public hearing, and I'd like to state for the record that I did receive one letter in opposition to the project from James Scaffide. Hope I didn't do your, okay. Representing the neighbor in opposition and pointing out several concerns. And and I've read it, and so I have one request for speaker slip, if there's someone else who would like to, yeah. And it's Hudson Hormick.
Harnick, H-O-R. Yeah, so James regret.
You can come down, come and sit in this chair, it's fine, and speak into the microphone. That's fine. Sure, yeah. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Reardon. Good morning, Mr. Perez.
Hey.
First off, I'd like to say that I apologize for James is not available to be here. He got caught up in the weather back east.
Okay.
But I work at the firm with Jim, and we represent Nancy here, a concerned neighbor. A couple things that we wanted to mention in opposition, just in light of what was recently said. Mr. Perez mentioned that the plans as they currently exist do not interfere with any neighbor. Ms. Engstrom here is the adjacent neighbor, and she has very serious concerns about the views that will be obstructed if the modifications are approved. These are historic views. These are views that she's had from that house from the very beginning, and so that is something that we would like to bring your attention to. We have some photos right here if you'd like to see. Additionally, we would like to reiterate our points we made in the letter about the existing setbacks. Now, Mr. Perez mentioned the setbacks that are required by the city, but there are CC&Rs that are attached to this property that are still attached to this property and are current. And the house as it currently exists is in violation of those CC&Rs, specifically the interior lot line. It requires an 8-foot setback. The house as it currently exists is in violation of that 8-foot setback. Additionally, any other modifications, the CC&Rs require that they be approved by the Architectural Control Committee. And although we have heard nothing from the owners of the property or Mr. Oshner about meeting those terms of the CC&Rs. So we would like to stand by those objections. Additionally, although we have been talking with Mr. Oshner yesterday, we sent letters in December, and we really haven't been able to have a meeting yet or a good faith effort to sit down and come down and sit at the table and discuss our concerns. So that is why we submitted this letter. And we are aware that the Single Family Design Review Board requires the good neighbor compliance. So we would like to point that out, that although we are now in conversation, we have not been up until yesterday.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yes, of course.
Did you want to add something, or that just?
No, I agree with what he has said, that it has been a difficult situation in trying to make arrangements to get the new neighbors or Mr. Oshner to meet or comply with the good neighbor guidelines that the Single Family Design Board had requested up until yesterday. And so.
Oh, can you scoot that over so she can be heard? The mic, sorry.
So my primary concern was that we are able to work together with them in order to make new plans that are mutually agreeable. So that is why I'm hopeful that we can do that and move forward in a positive direction.
Okay, great.
One last thing, too.
Yeah.
The story poles, as they were erected last time, were inaccurate. So we just asked that, and to be completely open, Mr. Oshner had said that he will now put up new story poles that adequately reflect the modifications. We have yet to see those because the old story poles were not accurate.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, of course.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the staff hearing officer on this item? No, seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. You can go ahead and sit back down in the audience. So I went out to the site and viewed the site and looked at the surrounding neighborhood. And I would like to just reiterate what my action is today, what elements of the project that I'm reviewing. In terms of the master bedroom addition, that's under the purview of the Single Family Design Board. What I'm looking at is the modification request to extend the covered parking in the front setback in the area where there's an existing carport, and then also roof changes within this interior setback. So in terms of the overall project, it's the single-family design board that has the main purview over this project. So I'm not saying that your concerns aren't important, just in terms of my review today, and what I'm looking at is just these two small elements of the overall project. So I'll go first in terms of in regards to the front setback modification. Front setbacks, as you know, are very important. That represents, the streetscape, the pattern of development, and neighborhood character. So in reviewing front setback modifications, it's important to take into account what's the existing development on site as well as in the area. And in terms of what the applicant has requested, it's to pretty much, but not totally, enclose an existing carport area. And the addition represents a uniform extension of the existing front wall of the building, and it doesn't protrude any further than what's there now. So in terms of the front setback modification to allow the portion of the carport to now be a garage, that is supportable. In regards to the changes in the interior setback, I actually do have some questions regarding the interior setback. Roof overhangs are allowed to encroach 2 feet into the setback. And so it looks like your proposed overhangs are exceeding that, and modifications weren't requested for that. So as part of the revisions to your project, you're going to have to take that into account, and they can't extend more than 2 feet into the setback. In this area here, that would be the same. That might be an issue in terms of zoning because the existing roof eave doesn't protrude farther than the chimney, right? I was trying to remember when I went there to
I've got an existing roof plan. Let's see. It looks like it extends right beyond the face.
Okay, so it might be the same. I don't know if there's a picture submitted from that side, but that's something you're going to have to take into account in terms of your design of your roof, to not, in the area of the new area, there isn't a patio closure there, or patio cover now, but I'm not sure that it's permitted or not. Do you have a?
Well, it's the best we can see. It looks like the roof extends just beyond the face of the chimney, but so that becomes the demarc of how far we can extend is not beyond that existing projection.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. And then the same is true in this corner element here. This is, and that's going to, I don't know how you're going to treat that, but this is farther than 3 feet here. So this, farther than 2 feet. I think it's more like 3 feet here. Mm-hmm. So your limit is 2 feet to overhang. And your post, I see your posts are all out of the setback.
Oh, excuse me? Yes, the posts
are all out of the setback, so
Correct.
that's fine.
Yes.
You can overhang farther. The posts can't be in the setback either. So in regards to the roof change within the setback, it complies with the solar access ordinance. There's not any skylights proposed in that area. It is a minor increase in the height within the setback, so that is also something that is supportable. So I can make the finding on that one. But in regards to the proposed findings, I would like to make a change to the first one to further explain why I feel that the garage addition is an appropriate improvement, and just add additional language recognizing that the garage addition is a uniform extension of the existing front facade of the garage, and it also provides for an enclosed parking space, and that this addition would allow for conforming covered parking spaces. So versus your current situation now, there is a garage and a carport, both of which are considered to be a covered parking. The garage is substandard in size, and so by expanding it, it's now conforming. So I'm going to add those additional statements within findings. In regards to conditions, staff's not proposing any conditions, and given the scope of my review in terms of the modifications, I don't feel it's necessary to add any conditions. I know the Design Review Board has given you direction in terms of their concerns, and you'll be working that out with them. But in regards to the modification requests, I don't need to make any or to add any conditions to be able to make the findings. So with that, I approve your project, making the findings as I just revised them. My action is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days, and if you were to wish to pursue that route, it's filed here at 630 Garden Street versus City Hall. So come in here within 10 calendar days. The Planning Commission also has oversight authority of all my actions, and if they felt this warranted additional discussion before them, they could call it up during that same 10-day review period. And if either of those would occur, Andrew would contact you. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Great, thanks. So now we'll move on to the next and last item, which is 226 Oliver Road. If the applicant would like to come up.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay. They're fine, okay. Andrew here. It helps people viewing online to see them.
Yeah. Very good morning.
Good morning.
My name is David Eng. I'm the planning technician for this project at 226 Oliver Road. This is a existing single-family dwelling that's developed on a lot in the E3 zone, also in the non-appealable jurisdiction of the coastal zone. A lot of 66,517 square feet. It's developed with a one-story single-family dwelling that's has a total square footage 1,850 square feet of development. Before I get into it, I do want to clarify for the public that in the notice that went out, there was it listed the garage as existing, but I do want to note that according to the city's plans and permits, it's technically a carport that was converted to a garage without permits, and so that was clarified in the project description on the agenda.
Okay.
And also that the man door to the garage is an as-built door as opposed to new. So this parcel on the corner has 20-foot front yard setbacks and 6-foot interior yard setbacks. The existing dwelling is legal non-conforming to the front yard setback along the frontage, and also back here on this interior setback is about 5 feet 1 inch from the property line. So the modifications that are being requested today are for alterations within the front yard setback, and the interior setback is highlighted in this pink bubble. The changes proposed for the front yard setback are to replace a single garage door that spans the width of this carport that has been converted into a garage, to replace those with 2 single 8-foot garage doors. There is currently a window on this elevation here, and there's a proposal two separate windows that will be replaced with a single window along that elevation. And the second modification requested is for the interior setback modification to allow this as-built door to the new garage within that setback area. Because of the orientation of the changes on this front elevation towards the street, staff finds that there are minimal impacts to those changes. With regards to the change along this interior setback for this door, because it is a door, it doesn't staff doesn't find that there are significant issues with regards to privacy concerns with the result of that door being installed. The neighboring house here is oriented perpendicular to this house, and so this area around here is actually their backyard, and their house does not is located at least 30 feet away from their property line. And so, for those reasons, staff is recommending that the staff hearing officer approve the requested modifications with some conditions for a section of overheight fencing along this frontage that will require an administrative height exception as it exceeds 3.5 feet within 10 feet of the front property line. There is also fencing here that upon a site visit we found that it was installed without permits or approval, and also some hedge that may be overheight along the section adjacent to the driveway. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. I do have one clarification in the staff report.
Yes.
A question on page 2 under discussion. It says the existing dwelling is legal nonconforming to the required 20-foot primary front setback, and it is located only 15 feet from the west interior property line. Is that supposed to be the front? Here?
That is correct, and I apologize for
Okay,
that
that's
error.
fine. I just wanted to make sure I was understanding it right. All right. That was my only question at this time. Would you like to state your name for the record and provide additional comments?
I'm Steve Howes, the architect. I think the only thing I would comment on would be this fence that I went out and took a look at it and talked to my clients, and they said they just repaired and painted the fence that was already there. Of course, there's no documentation of permits for that. There rarely are, but so that's the history of it.
Okay, great. Thank you. I don't have any questions for you right now. I'd like to open the public hearing. I would like to note that I did receive a letter from the neighbor, 320 Santa Monica Way, and they're supportive of the exterior changes of the project, but they expressed concerns that the additional support beam changes to the garage roof may lead to future construction of a roof deck on top of the garage. We would respectfully request that a provision be included that would prohibit construction of a roof deck on this converted carport garage. And I would like to just respond to that. In terms of converting it to a roof deck, that would require an additional modification for the portions within the setback. And then also it would be required, review would be required by the SFDB. So it's not something that would just happen. There's a required review process for it to be changed to a roof deck. So
May I comment on that?
just a minute. So that's the only public comment I received, and there's no one in the audience. Have you received any other emails or phone calls?
No, I have not.
No. Kathy, have you? No? So I'll close the public hearing. Yes, if you'd like to comment on that, that's fine.
Yeah, it's just that, as you know, a roof deck would be a legal improvement, would have to go through review processes, so you can't preclude them from doing that. However, we did discuss that possibility, and they decided not to do that, so it is not structurally designed to support a roof deck.
Why is it necessary to add the post?
Because originally, this was the garage.
Oh, really?
And then that got turned into interior living space and the carport built. So there was a roof overhang here. And what they did is there's an existing post and beam here just outside of the roof overhang. Well, that would preclude putting a door in here and getting 2 cars in there. So I needed to re-support that, and so I moved this support to the center and then tied it into the wall here.
Okay.
So that's the reason for it.
Okay. Then the other reason is this as-built door. There is another door already leading to the backyard. Why is there 2 doors necessary?
You know, I'm not really sure. It's just their preference for access to the electric panel where all the breakers are, and just instead of having to go all the way around the property, they can go
Or they
undercover.
can go out this door?
Or they could go that way, yes, it's true.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Those are my...
as noted, you know, I should point out on the site plan, that this is the configuration of the adjacent buildings. So the adjacent house is as far away on that lot as it can be from this. So there's not a close adjacency of this side door.
Okay. Well, I did go out to the site and looked at the site and the surrounding neighborhood, and just to get a feel for the neighborhood. In terms of the changes to in the front setback to convert this garage, or to legally convert it to a garage, and then to reconfigure the front doors, and then to add the windows here. That's an appropriate improvement on the lot. I think it'll actually enhance the aesthetics of it from the street.
Yeah, they've done a very nice job with the siding replacement they're doing here, so
Yeah.
if they continue that work there, it'll be very nice.
Yeah, so I think that is an appropriate improvement. In terms of the door and the interior setback, I have concerns regarding adding new doors within the interior setback, just because of the potential nuisance of it with people coming in and out, although it is to the garage, so it's not going to be heavily used. There's also a code required light that, if it's left on, it could be a nuisance to the neighbor. So I generally don't support new doors within the setback, and I'd be inclined not to support this one, especially since there is another access to the rear yard that doesn't require a modification. So I wouldn't be inclined to support that door.
Could I make a comment on that?
Sure.
In terms of a light, that could certainly be shielded so it does not shed light towards the neighbor. But also, considering that this was originally an open carport, walling it in, it's still a less intense imposition on the neighbor to have just this door here than to have the entire side of the carport open.
Okay. I still don't support it.
Okay.
Nice try. No, I'm kidding. And then in regards to the conditions of approval, staff's proposing, well, design review is required if it's over 3.5 feet. That's the second one. But the first one, it says administrative height exception shall be obtained for the overheight fence at the northerly property line. I would like to add that prior to the PDA from design review, that be applied for, so that the decision on that occurs before project design approval, because we have had instances in the past when somebody applied for an administrative height exception at the building permit phase, and it wasn't approved, and so that caused problems. So you know that one is required, so I want to add that it happens before design review, because then it will be less impacts, potential impacts.
So-
I'm not going to say it's not going to be supported or not, but just so that there's an action on it and a decision at the beginning. And if it's determined after this hearing that that is legal nonconforming, this condition wouldn't apply. Since if it's found through further research, you had mentioned that you couldn't find record of it, but if for some reason there's historic photos or something that shows something in that area and it is determined to be nonconforming, then this condition would go away.
Okay. But you're saying that this stretch of over 3.5 foot high fence is what triggers design review?
Yes. And it doesn't have to be the full board.
Right,
Could be,
consent.
yeah. And then also this hedge that's along the front property line, it is within the visibility triangle. So, and then this is a corner, and looking at our guidelines, I'm not sure if this has the potential to impact this. It may not, but the hedge too needs to comply with the height limitations regarding the driveway triangle and the site distance.
Okay.
And that doesn't matter whether it's non-conforming or not. That's a safety
Yeah,
issue.
no, I
So I'm going to add that condition too, that the existing hedge, that it needs to show compliance with that. And then, like I said, I can't make the findings in terms of the door within the setback is an appropriate improvement, since there is already another one. There is a conforming option. I can't make that finding. So in regards to the proposed findings that staff has, I'm going to change the second one, making the finding that it's not consistent with the purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance. Yeah, and just minor wording to the change to the first one, just refer to it as a door, as-built door on the south elevation. So with those changes to the findings and the additional conditions, the revised condition 1 to say prior to PDA, and then adding the hedge within to be either, well, this needs to be cut down, and then this show compliance with
Okay.
the
And I'm drawing a blank on what PDA stands for.
preliminary design approval.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah. We like
Viewing
acronyms.
public might appreciate that
Well,
too.
I'd say I was switching between, but I didn't.
I guess I didn't hear that, yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't
Yeah.
specify
Okay.
PDA.
Yeah.
I might have said or preliminary design
Or
approval.
project design approval, actually.
Project design approval.
Okay.
That's right, because it is the first approval. Former design review
Former
staff.
preliminary.
Yeah. But so with the changes and the added conditions, I approve your project. My action is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days, and they also have oversight authority of all my actions. And if they felt this warranted additional discussion before them, they could call it up during that same 10-day review period. And if either of those would occur, they would contact you.
Yes.
Okay? So I adjourn the meeting.
Okay, thanks very much.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Cause I didn't see the great adventure that was waiting for me. I knew exactly what my future would be. I had it all mapped out with no doubt. Then bumping into you was so unexpected. You popped in a view, we clicked and connected. It was fate, I suppose, and things are what they seldom seem. But one never knows, and little did I ever dream. Do you tweet?